Hello, everyone. Thanks a lot for joining this new edition of the ISNCT webinars that are very important to us and an opportunity to gather together and to learn every time a little bit more about BNCT. And at this opportunity, the webinar team asked me to introduce Professor Akira Matsumura, that is now our president of the ISNCT from June. And for that, we want to especially thank you for honoring us with his presence and giving the presentation. I just wanted to let you know that, of course, it's not necessary because you all know Professor Matsumura. He's a super recognized member of our society and the BNCT community. He has performed a lot of very significant clinical trials and continue working on that. He has served to our community as an executive committee member, but he was our previous vice president and now president. But personally, I want to say that he's one of our main supporters of the communication task force. And in the last years, we had the opportunity and the honor to work together with him. And for that, I will be forever grateful. So this talk with this title promises to be very, very important and enlightening for us. So thanks again, Professor Matsumura, and the floor is yours.
Okay, then I will start my presentation. So good evening in Buenos Aires, good morning in Buenos Aires, good evening in Asia, and maybe good afternoon in Europe. So thank you very much for attending this webinar. And I'm very thankful for the CTF members who organized this webinar. And I will try to talk to you about the past and future for ISNCT from the business side and also from the research or academic side. So I would like to start my presentation. So today's content is divided in two parts. So first is the management and mission of ISNCT. So maybe many members do not really know about how the ISNCT construction was changed recently. So I will tell you about this briefly. And the second part is the future academic and technical issues in BNCT. So first one, the ISNCT organization changes have been made. The purpose is to strengthen ISNCT management for continuous activities.
Hello, I think Akira, I'm sorry, probably your slides are not changing because you have to change the mode.
The purpose of ISNCT organization changes is to strengthen ISNCT management for continuous activities. As you may know, in the early stages, the president of ISNCT was the president of the Congress. So, we didn't have enough continuous activity as a society. So at Missouri ICNCT in 2016, in the EB meeting, we have proposed for a new governing system to separate roles of society president, which term is 4 years, and the Congress president, which is a 2 years term. And at this meeting, Professor Porras took over the first ISNCT president. And then we divided the president of ICNCT, which Professor Javier has took over this role. So, and then in 2018 in Taipei meeting, we have reorganized the executive board. So I will explain about this next slide. So in Taipei, we the new roles here, which is in the blue characters. We have the vice president, which I have served for these years, and the executive board. Before Taiwan, the executive board was randomly elected by BOC. So irrespective to the specialties. But we thought that we have to discuss in deeper of each specialties. So we took the technical committee chairs as an EB member. That means physics, chemistry, biology, and clinical medicine. And one new EB member is Agustina, is now taking the role, the chair of communication task force for the public relations or advertisement. I think it's very important to spread our presence and make some advertisement to enhance the BNCT knowledge. So far, the ISNCT activity since 2016 is that we had regular EB meetings, web-based, led by Professor Porras, and CT Communication Task Force, led by Agustina, did a very active work on newsletter, web for the public relations. And since ISNCT had no bank account so far, and Professor Porras made a big effort to open the bank account for ISNCT. And I will talk about the budget importance later. And due to the COVID-19 pandemic or some unstable situations in mostly in Eastern Europe, we had to adjust the ISNCT and YBNCT as shown here. So many of the ISNCTs and YBNCTs has to be postponed or should be done on online or changed like this. So we hope that the situation will become better in the future, near future. And one thing is the IAEA collaboration with the IAEA. So in 2010 at Buenos Aires meeting, in the EB meeting, we discussed about to revise TECTOC 2001. And the lobbying activity started at this time. And I was nominated as for this role. And in 2011, in ICRR 10 in Warsaw, I met a guy from IAEA to discuss about the revision of TECTOC 2001. And 2012, in Tsukuba meeting, I invited this guy whose name is Dr. Solicin. We opened a web forum to revise the TECTOC. But it was not so successful because Dr. Solicin left IAEA, and I visited the IAEA headquarters in Vienna, and I made a presentation, but the people at IAEA was not so interested in BNCT at the time. But since there has been accelerator-based BNCT, the interest of IAEA to BNCT increased, so that you know that we had the IAEA BNCT meeting in 2022 and some publication in 2023. So it's for us a very good chance to have more collaboration with IAEA. And IAEA also launched a coordinated research project called CRP. And this is also a big success or big progress for us. And we have to utilize this chance to enhance our activity. So as you see here, this is IAEA TECTOC 1223 in 2001. And recently we had advances in boron neutron capture therapy. But in the future, I think we continuously have to work on standardization of the TECTOC and put a new knowledge and concepts to this IAEA Tech Talk in the future. That's our role for ISNCT. And this is about the coordinated research project at IAEA. It's a 4 years term, and here is the total estimated budget. And objective key technology proposed activities are shown here, which is not so visible here. I'm sorry. But, and this is beneficiary countries is all the member states. But as you see here, there are still another 130,000 euros required, written by IAEA. So I hope that the member states could give some financial support to IAEA to continue this coordinated research project in the future. And one good thing is that in Japan, the Yokohama University become a center for BNCT. I cannot see this here. In 2022. And this center organized training workshop on advances in BNCT in 2023 in Yokohama. And I show you in the later slides, but training for people for the beginner of BNCT is very important to perform safe BNCT in clinics and also starting research in BNCT. And I show you what are the crucial points in promptly managing the academic international societies. These are 7 issues. I think I can explain it very briefly. So clear, sorry, I cannot see my slides disturbed by the Zoom here. But the goal is, or our society is, to expand clinics and research in BNCT. And to show effective leadership, we have reformed the governing body since 2016. But we have to continue this activity to strengthen our society, to make coordinated activities, manage resources, and represent the society professionally. And the membership engagement is done already, but through ICNCT, BNCT, journals, newsletter, and webinars. But we have to activate this action in the future. And one thing we have not been successfully done yet is the 4th one, the financial management. So ensure sound financial practices, including budgeting and fundraising. So this has to be enriched in the future. And the EB is discussing how to do this, whether from the members, from sponsors, or other possibilities. But this is very important. In the recent ICNCT in Poland, we invited the Hatanaka awardee with the budget from which Professor Porras opened, but there is not enough budget in the bank accounts. So this is a future issue that we have to solve. And networking with and collaboration with other partnerships. Now we have a collaboration with the PT COG, and so in the future we have to have more relationships with domestic society for neutron capture therapy, like Japanese, Taiwan, Chinese, German, and so on. And also outside BNCT, Astro, Estro, Jastro. And also we have to make more in collaboration with the private companies, I think. And for professional development, we have to provide opportunities to enhance the skills of the members through workshops, conferences, and mentorship programs. And I think it's very important to have educational workshops as a society in the future. And for publications and communications, we have to maintain regular communication with members. And CTF is doing very very active works for newsletters and web page, webinars, and journals. I'm very thankful to the CTF members. Thank you very much. So next, I would like to talk about the future academic and technical issues in BNCT. It's not so academic presentation here. It's a very rough presentation, but please think about more in detail of each specialist. So these are 7 items. What would be the most important thing in developing BNCT in the next decade? So first is improvement of the neutron sources. So accelerator-based systems is now ready and promising, but I think we need further development and optimization. This is not only academic, but also for the marketing. And so that we have to develop more compact, cost-effective, and safe, and effective neutron sources and this is very critical for broader implement of BNCT, especially in clinical hospitals. So if the cost is very high, we are not able to broaden BNCT treatment in the future. And this slide is provided by Professor Kumada, and he listed up 22 accelerators. And among these, I think 1, 2, 3, 5, 6 are in clinical trial. No, 7. And I think more accelerators should be used for the clinical trial or insurance coverage treatment. So this is very important to have a balance between the clinical treatment and basic research or translational research as our society. So this is a slide which I have already shown in Krakow, but this is an example how it develops a new treatment. So this is a number of proton centering and treatment cases in Japan. So in Japan, commercial available proton treatment started in 2000. And this number of the facility didn't increase until 2010. So it took about 10 years that the facility increased, and as you see here. But the insurance coverage of the proton therapy in Japan started in 2016. And as you see here, the number of treated cases increased dramatically here. So it's very important to get the approval from the authority to do the treatment under insurance coverage. So it differs from country to country, but we have to work as an international society to make a global standard to be covered by the insurance. And how about BNCT? So in Japan, we have now 5 accelerators ready for clinical trial, ready for clinical treatment. But our advantage is that the BNCT insurance coverage started already in 2020. And as you see here in the proton, it took 16 years until the insurance coverage was approved because the particle therapy was quite new at that time. But since we had a very long experience with the nuclear reactor, and we published very large number of papers in clinical trials, so this was approved in 2020. This is a big advantage. So in Japan, the Osaka Medical Pharmaceutical University is already treating about 200 patients of recurrent head and neck cancers in the year. So that makes a big income. And based on these, I think many other institutions could consider about trying to have the BNCT accelerators and increase the clinical cases. I think the increase of numbers should be more than the proton and speed up compared to protons. So next is the optimization is the boron delivery agents. It's a very key challenge to have more efficient new boron delivery agents. And but as you know, the development drug takes time. Sometimes from the basic research to translational research and clinical studies, take over 10 years. But we still should make big effort to develop new drugs. So the research of drug development is always developing. As you see in the normal anti-cancer drugs, the evolution is very rapid. So we have to try to get such development also in the BNCT. But as a shortcut, maybe we have to make research on modification of current drug, BPA, because BPA is already approved, and modification of such BPA could be done in very short period. That is also another opportunity to improve the BNCT. So as to the treatment and treatment planning and dosimetry, the BNCT requires very individual nature because the level of blood concentration or distribution of boron in the tumor are different. So we need advanced imaging technology like the PG-SPEC or gamma telescope, or in the future, maybe AI-driven algorithm to improve fast and real-time boron concentration monitoring. Now we are assuming the tumor boron concentration from the blood concentration. But I think in future, to have more precise treatment planning, we need real-time boron monitoring. That's a big issue for the research. And also to use the BPA PET and other amino acid PETs like methionine PET or other new amino acid PETs to find cancer types indicated for BNCT and estimation of the boron accumulation or boron concentration. This is also a big issue to establish the personalized treatment of BNCT. And one of the most important things is to establish as BNCT as a mainstream cancer therapy, and we have to have an extensive and well-designed clinical trials. Should be ideally global clinical trials, like we have international regulatory harmonization in conventional drug development, but we have to imply such system in BNCT as well, because if you have individual clinical trials of individual institutions, the people outside BNCT doesn't clearly understand what is the real result. And we cannot convince the people outside BNCT whether BNCT is effective or not. So we should make effort in have good global clinical trials and also spread the range of the cancer types. And doing such effort, we have to gain the regulatory approval from authorities from each countries. In Japan is PMDA, FDA, EMA, or in China is a CMDA, and so on. And also we have to have such standards from IEC or ICRU or ISO standards in BNCT. So these efforts has been started, and we have to discuss in the society how to improve these discussions. And the expansion of clinical indication for BNCT, this is a summary. In Japan, the recurrent head and neck cancer is already under insurance coverage. Recurrent management glioma, recurrent malignant meningioma, completion of the clinical trial. Melanoma and angiosarcoma is now in the phase 2 trial. And initially diagnosed glioblastoma is in the phase 1 clinical trial. And recently, recurrent breast cancer study has been started in Japan. And in the bottom, just recently, a very interesting clinical started in Japan. I will show you in the next slide. So this is a basket clinical trials for BNCT using FPPA PET. It was started in National Cancer Center. It just press release in September. And agreement period is 2028. It's 4-year research doing exploratory evaluation about usefulness or judging applicability for BNCT using FPPA PET imaging. That means if you find cancers or tumors with a high uptake of FPPA PET, you can perform BNCT and see the effect. The target is the esophageal cancer, non-small cell lung cancer, breast cancer, malignant soft tissue sarcoma in the thorax, malignant pleural mesothelioma, and etc., etc. That means you can have more wider selection if you have a good idea. And this is the next slide. In the next slide, as shown in the previous slide, lung cancer, chest wall pleural tumor, spinal cord tumor is listed already. But in my opinion, in earlier days, we did the intraoperative conventional X-ray treatment for pancreatic cancer was in a single session, but it didn't show very well clinical results. But maybe in internal cancer in the abdomen, in the liver cancer or pancreatic cancer or other cancers, we can perform intraoperative VNE by opening the abdomen and providing more intense neutron. Because BNCT is a single session treatment, and so if you have an operating theater in the BNCT facility, you can do such treatment. We had it in the nuclear reactor era. We had the operating theater at the nuclear reactor BNCT treatment facilities. So it might be also feasible. And in Krakow, we heard about the Alzheimer's disease and also maybe palliative irradiation for cancers. So in the very terminal stage or advanced stage cancer patients, they sometimes get palliative irradiation with the conventional X-ray. And since the BNCT is a single session, we can rescue the advanced cancer patients by using the palliative irradiation in a very short time because it's a single session, and also relieve the pain, cancer pain from these patients. This could be done in the future, but it's a discussion about the cost of the treatment. If the cost of BNCT is reduced, maybe we can do palliative irradiation while using BNCT. So the cost reduction and accessibility is very important. Now BNCT is very high cost because of the infrastructure, operational expense, and limited accessibility. So we have to reduce the cost of treatment, including equipment, maintenance, drug, and delivery. So improvement of the patient's throughput. If you increase the number of patients per day, so the cost will be relatively lower. So that means if you treat 10 patients per day compared to 5 patients a day, the cost will be relatively lower. And also reduce the initial investment cost for facility. That means cheaper accelerator and cheaper building, smaller building is also crucial. It's not academic, but it's a real world issue. And also, if you increase the number of BNCT facility and the number of patients, it might reduce the cost of the drugs. So finally, not finally, but the very important is if the number of the treatment, establishing international standards for BNCT treatment protocols and dosimetry is very essential for consistent application worldwide. For such a purpose, I think new TechDoc or even our own ISNCT guideline should be made to make a standard, global standard. And for that purpose, additionally, the training healthcare professionals and clinicians in this specialized BNC technique will be crucial as therapy becomes more widespread. So in Japanese Society for Neutron Capture Therapy, we are doing such training course. But if the number of BNCT facility increase, the number of clinicians and medical physicists should be increased to perform proper BNCT treatment in the hospital. So as a society, we should think about to educate clinicians and medical physicists who are not so professional in the BNCT world. So finally, the combination of therapies. So in conventional therapy, it is combined with immunotherapy, chemotherapy, and other radiotherapies. So BNCT should become one of the standard therapy through combination therapy. Once BNCT shows its effect in a single session, and that means BNCT itself could prove the efficacy. And because in conventional X-ray, we often use or routinely use radiochemistry, a combination of radiation and chemotherapy. So BNCT should become also such kind of combination therapies in the future. And finally, since BNCT is a alpha particle therapy, and the path length of the alpha particle is only 10 microns. And we don't know about the distribution of boron inside the tumor. It is depending on the blood supply or cell cycle of these tumor cells. So it might be heterogeneous. And so in some cells, the radiation dose by alpha particle might not be enough. So Escobar effects or bystander effects are extremely important in BNCT, I think. And there has been very active research from Argentina in the past, or recently from China or Japan as the Escobar effects. So we have to more focus on Escobar effects or bystander effects in evaluating the total radiation of effect of BNCT. I think it's very important. So this is a final slide. I'm afraid whether I'm over time, but let me explain this. This slide I've shown you many times. So the proton carbon started in 2000, and BNCT started the research with a nuclear reactor. But now we have the accelerator, and it is a paradigm shift in BNCT. So now we can have more type of cancer treated by BNCT. And from 2020, we have insurance coverage for the clinical therapy. It's a very, very big advantage for BNCT. And we can go further. The accelerator is like an engine of the car. But once engine is completed, the boron carrier, new boron carrier is one of the most important key to further developments of BNCT. So by having new drugs, we can overcome the number, we are hoping to overcome the number of the treatment compared to proton or carbon ion. It's very important to have new drugs to expand the clinical indications. So thank you very much for your attention. And I think we have the brighter future for BNCT with the cooperation of us, our INCT members. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for this spectacular presentation. Very interesting, a very nice overview of the society and overview of the BNCT. So really, I am more than thankful for you for accepting giving this webinar and share with us all this information. Thank you so much. And well, if you have any questions, maybe you can write it in the chat and I can read it to Akira.
I think there is one question from Maricel Oliveira.
Yes, it says,
Comment.
thank you very much. Could you comment about of spinal BNCT treatment?
Yes, I think many members heard about the spinal BNCT in Krakow, presented from Osaka Medical and Pharmaceutical University. They had an animal model, and they showed some good effect in treating spine, the bony spine, and also spinal cord tumor. And in the past, I think Dr. Nakai from University of Tsukuba made some simulation to do the two fraction, from two side BNCT, and we could have enough neutron fluence to the spinal cord or spinal bony structure. So I think if boron compound enough accumulates in the spinal cord or in the spinal bony structure, we can do this. Because it's from the backside, you do not irradiate the gut and so on. So for gut, I think it's toxic, but from the behind, I think it's feasible.
Radia says, thank you very much for this spectacular presentation. Could you tell us about BNCT for pediatric treatment?
I think it's a very interesting and very important point. For example, in Japan, in Tsukuba, or in Japan, we use proton therapy, especially for children, because you have the black peak, and for children, it's very important not to harm the growth of the spinal cord. In the conventional therapy, if you irradiate the spine, you also hit the bony structure. But using the proton, you do not harm this bony structure, and the growth of the spinal cord is normal in proton. So if you can prove such kind of treatment by using BNCT, I think it might be feasible because the BNCT does not harm the normal tissue so much. So it's a very interesting point, I think.
Thank you. Mandy says, thank you so much for your excellent presentation. Can we think of the possibility of including BNCT in undergraduate medical curricula?
Well, I hope so. And we should make our efforts to make it into the normal curriculum. I think in the earlier times, the proton and carbon ion was not included in the curriculum, but it became popular to the medical students' curriculum. So if BNCT will become more popular, I think we could and we should include. We have to try when we make efforts, I think. Thank you.
Alexander says, thank you very much for such a valuable presentation. Alzheimer's disease was mentioned in the slides. What can be the approach for Alzheimer's disease?
Well, I've heard about Alzheimer's disease in Poland. I think it's an EU project. I think any other attendant could answer this question. I am not so familiar with this.
Yeah, I can say that Nicoletta Proti is leading. Nicoletta Proti from Italy if I not remember incorrectly, she's leading or she's involved in this project. So perhaps, Alexander, if you want to know more about this topic, maybe you can contact her. And because yes, I remember also in Poland, there were several presentations regarding this topic.
Yes, I think they wanted to eliminate the beta amyloid.
Yes.
Using some compounds which will be attached to the beta amyloid, the neutron irradiation.
Yes. Clara says, thank you very much for the impressive conference. I am curious to know if there are any studies related to thyroid and parathyroid cancers, as well as prostate cancer.
Yes, I think BNCT could be applied to any cancers or tumors which accumulate boron compounds. So if you, for example, for prostate cancer, some kind of antibody called PSMA. PSMA is an antibody for prostate cancer. And if you could attach boron to PSMA and have enough concentration in the prostate cancer, you can apply it. So it's a matter of new drug development. Also maybe the thyroid cancer or parathyroid cancer as well. So if you have a specific drug which accumulates in some kind of organ, you can apply it.
If there are no more questions, maybe I can ask one. I have a doubt related to pancreatic cancer. You said that there was one patient treated with pancreatic cancer with BNCT. You said, or I understood wrong?
No. In earlier times in University of Tsukuba, we had a room which had a conventional X-ray in the operating theater. So we opened the abdomen and removed all the guts and showed directly the pancreas. And we did some intraoperative conventional X-ray treatment in one session.
Okay.
So if you have such a facility in BNCT, you might do maybe in liver cancer or pancreatic cancer or some kidney cancer or some other cancers inside the body.
Okay. Yes, they are very difficult because they are surrounded by very sensitive organs. So you need a very specific drug to go to the tumor and to preserve the rest. It is a very challenge. Tumor.
If you remove the intestine by operation, you can directly demonstrate the pancreas. So you have more neutron intensity and then you could make a BNCT treatment. Maybe you have some tube not having any intestine around and just air and directly to the pancreas or to the liver, you can do this.
Okay, that's amazing. Thank you.